Welcome to the first of many Rockford CCG Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers deck profile. The point of this series is that I felt like that the community or just people in general would like to see just a basic build of certain of the characters from the new set. The set's been out for, as of recording, 3 weeks, roughly. 3-4 weeks. A lot of people have been, we had a PTC, we've had some Premier Store events, so I felt like just throwing up some basic builds that people can build upon. And so today we're going to start with Morrigan, off of the evil symbol. She does have the check hacking theme with her character and speed buff and debuff. So we're going to kind of take the speed, the check hacking aspect of her character and kind of build around that. So we're going to start with the foundation base, because we'll leave attacks, actions, and assets for the end of the video, because those are the more fun cards to play with. So Morrigan, 628. Once per turn, you can lose 3 vitality to, after your opponent makes a check to play a card, not as a block, you give it -3. It doesn't end the combat phase. So it's on any card, any attack, action, foundation, character card. So, and as long as it's not as a block. So, it's pretty good. So moving on, and then she has discard top X card, top card of the deck. If you discard a block card, it gets X speed or -X speed, and it's the difference between the printed block and the printed control. So we're gonna move on. We'll put difficulty up. So we're gonna move on to foundations, and we got 4 most trusted assassin. Again, it's maybe one of the best spam that Evil has. Once per turn, lose a vitality, -1 to play an attack card. That also works as a block. So if they try to block with an attack card, it gets -1, and it has a janky first after you get to see a random card in your opponent's hand. Next up, we got 4 debt to be paid. E-flip after you've lost vitality, so if you've cut with Morrigan, you've lost vitality. It also counts damage taken as well. Your opponent's next check to play a card gets -1, playable while committed. Again, we're just doubling up on the the check hacking, and also the first 2 most trusted assassin and debt to be paid can end combat phases. So if your opponent cannot pass the check, their combat phase ends. But remember, if you use like Morrigan in conjunction with this, or the next card, which is Cage Fighter, failing this check does not end the combat phase, overwrites, gets kind of tacked on, so they can't end the combat phase. You can't end it that way. Solid spam, nice block. Cage Fighter works in with our theme that we're going for. 1 Reformed Scientist, because breaker blocks suck, and if your opponent tries to make their cards easier, I guess. On a non-character card, you can, they try to modify the difficulty. You just pop this, and it's playable while committed, so if it gets stunned, or if you need to pass it for a check or whatever, pretty good. 3 Arranging a Deal. We'll go back through the blocks after I go through all the cards for Morgan's second ability. Desperation Need, flip, draw card. It's a solid spam, 6 check. Draws you a card if you're in desperation. Pretty nice. Calling Upon the Sun. Our flip after you lose 2 or more vitality as a cost, gain 2 vitality. So you can cut with Morrigan, respond with this, and basically only pay 1 to hack for 3, which is awesome. And it has a really great R flip that if your opponent commits or destroys something on your side, you get to target commit something, playable while committed. So it's pretty sweet. So you could stun it and then flip it. This wasn't in my original build for Morrigan. E-flip. New Empress of the Netherrealm. E-flip, lose 3 vitality, draw a card. Desperation, you look at the top card of your opponent's deck. So you needed more card draw, so I threw in 3 of these. I felt like I needed to draw more attacks. Sometimes it just wasn't enough to draw the correct attacks. So this should help. Again, we can use Calling Upon the Sun to kind of negate some of that cost to 1. We have 3 Aphidiophobia. block deals no damage. It's a great low block, I guess, because it's a 3. I don't know, whatever. But anywho, if it's blocked, it deals no damage, so it's some throw hate with Goro out there. Some of Morrigan's throws are pretty good. Some foundation control, Outworld's Heiress. Also, it gets rid of stun. So you lose X, and they have no more stun rating. Well, they have a stun rating, it just gets minus that. Then E, lose X vitality, you can bounce an asset or foundation back to your opponent's hand. So if they have something tricky that you need to take care of, you just bounce back to hand first. Two-Face in the monster, great deadlock effect. Desperation E is pretty good. Also, the additional -2 speed for 1 vitality is fantastic, because then it gets a debt to be paid online without having to pay 3 with Morrigan, so you can kind of chain the check hacking as your opponent plays cards. Last of its kind, this probably could be a 2 of. It's damage negation, damage pump if you're in desperation, or if your opponent's at deadlock. It's one thing the deck needed is a couple deadlock effects just to keep pace with like the longer game decks. Has a snazzy low block as well. Probably the MVP foundation of the set, of the new set, in my opinion. Confronting Jetta is stupid. You over pump speed, you get all this extra damage, or if your opponent over pump speed, they get all this minus damage. It could basically wipe out an entire attack if the stats are set up correctly. Also, with Morrigan, you could give speed, you can minus speed onto your opponent's attack and then give it negative damage. I mean, you can minus damage because it's a difference between printed and the current speed. Another card I'm going to try is 4 Early Awakening. Giving extra speed is never bad. And then, again, with Confronting Jetta. Also, if you happen to have 3 of these and 2, if you have 2 or more in the discard pile and you have 1, you remove it to build a couple extra ones, which is always great to keep strings alive. Undying Rage, the character. This will net you card draw. The bottom E doesn't matter, but it's a spicy 1 block. +1 with a 6 check, so it's 5 speed with Morrigan. And it just nets you cards. I believe every attack except for Plant Barrier in the deck can be picked up with this. Then we move on to 2 Fuse with Lilith. If your opponent happens to be playing super fast stuff and you don't want them to have any more Hanses, you just commit this. And it's kind of a Brilliant Tactician from the old Red Horizon set. It's just on a 3/6 with a +1 low block. So it's a 5 speed Morrigan, which is great. Moving on to assets and actions, we're gonna do. We got 2 Quan Chi Fortress. We're gonna do the Fade Quan Chi Fortress trick, where your opponent commits out because you hack their check, and then you fade the card back, and then you're just like, well, I'll lose 3, and so you lose 6 basically to try to stop their turn, which is possible if they have to commit so many cards just to play 1 card. Something I'm gonna try. Plus, you have some life gain on it. How you like the Mapples? Gives you some card draw. 3 speed with Morrigan's ability. Fade's another linchpin of the deck to where it combos with Quan Chi's Fortress and Morrigan's check hacking abilities. You try to get your opponent to overcommit into a turn, and then you just start fading their cards back to their hand, and they can't pass anything because they're committed. Also, it's 4 speed with Morrigan, so that's fantastic. We're going to go Flameport. We're going to go 2. This gets us snap momentum if it's blocked, or damage if it's not, so it's not that bad. It's not a horrible attack. Something just, I didn't want to play Fatality. Could swap this out with Fatality, I guess. But you can pick this up with Undying Rage, so it's kind of, I don't know, in that point, may be better than Fatality, but that's just testing needs to be done. 2 Plant Barrier. It's a great block with Morrigan, because then you block with this, you stack a really good really good block mod on top to either give speed to your reversal if you reverse, which we don't play in reversal, so it doesn't matter. And then so usually what I did was I either stacked a 6 and a 6/1 for -5 speed, or if I know I needed to block, I would just throw it a 6 on top. Or if I wanted to stack my draw, I would just put an attack on top. For Syndicate Slice, it seems like this is an evil staple for the most part nowadays because of the Desperation 2. Gets you a card if it's blocked, gets +1 to your next check. It's just an all-around good card. Takedown, if it's not blocked, it nets you more cards. It's a low attack with a nice low block. And it can be picked up with Undying Rage. Astral Vision, one of Morrigan's bread and butter attacks. More often than not, you're going to get that extra 4 damage, so 6 high for 8, and it gives you some life gain if you're in Desperation. And it's +3 speed or -3 speed with Morrigan's ability. Now we go to some kill cards. From Hell. If you make this fast enough and then you dump Confronting Jedha onto it and they can't block it, you get to pretty much murder them. You're looking at 6+. So let's just say we hit 5 with Morrigan. That's 8. Confronting Jedha makes it 11, and then we blow up. Let's say a 5 check, a 5 control foundation. So that's 16 damage on 1 attack. Desperation 4. EX3 if you need it. So it's not too bad of a card to kill someone with. Then we got 2 Fusion Soul Fist. Only 2 because we have to get momentum somehow, and we're not playing any throws, so we're gonna have to rely on Flameport and something hitting before we play this. I make the joke that Fusion Soul Fist was really made for Chun-Li, but they couldn't fit another attack on her page. So, but yeah, if you need to play this to gain some life, draw some cards, it's pretty good. Moving on to the sideboard, we got 3 Revoke, because I didn't want to run 7 actions in a deck, so we can side them out in any combination for like Apples or the 2 Fortresses if it's not needed. Another Reformed Scientist in case we face another Breaker deck. 2 Power Struggles, some Card Cycle and Throw Hate, Demanding Submission for Keyword Hate, and the Space Land for Momentum Hate and extra damage. All the block, let's go to the block mods now. For Morrigan, her bottom ability says discard the top card of your deck. If you discarded a block card, this attack gets +X or -X speed. X equals the difference between printed control and printed block mod. So every card in the deck, excluding Revoke and Demanding Submission, has a block, so you're getting some sort of speed. Flameport you're not because it's a 0, and I believe, so that's 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 speed, 2 speed, 2 speed, 2 speed, 2 speed, 2 speed, and 2 speed. Attacks, you're on average getting 2 speed, aside from these last 2, you're only getting 1 from Hell and 0 from Flameport. A spicy 4 speed from Fade if you discard it. So when playing her at the Premier Store event last week, I found that I ran the deck kind of thin, like at 64 cards. This deck we're sitting at 68. Not that I felt like I would cycle, before my opponent or whatever, but I just wanted to have a couple extra cards in there to just back up the deck a bit, because you're continually, pretty much on every attack played that you play and your opponent plays, you're going to hack speed. So you need to have that extra card so you don't cycle before your opponent. But other than that, I think I'm going to try this out at a local. We have a couple events coming up, so I may try this out at our casual event because I really like the character. I think she just kind of has to try a little hard, so because her ability is kind of random, so it's really dependent on your deck building. So again, this is just a building block, so you could just jump to this and then maybe add some cards to taste, take out the Fortresses, take out the Fades, toss in Revoke, toss in Homemade Explosives, maybe change up the foundation base a bit, or throw some throws in the attack base, or flip Flameport for Fatality. It's pretty much player's preference here, but it's just a good starting point. I believe, for Morrigan. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the other other shows on the channel, Guile Treatment, which will be back in 2019. We're going to have more Versus series. We're going to have some staging areas coming up in 2019. And this deck profile series, I'm going to have a couple other people from the community, Mark Wisniewski, Tamara Cardwell, a couple other guests. So keep an eye out for that. Again, thank you again, and take it easy. Thanks. Good night.